We need to talk about this. Talk about this.
All right, now, here's your host of the Georgio Says podcast. It's Georgio.
We need to talk about this.
All right, everyone. Welcome to an all-new episode of Georgio Says the podcast. It is Monday, September 15th. Yes, I have been reading all of your messages regarding the clip that I shared and the podcast episode with James Lee, the producer. This last one, a lot of you had a lot of opinions. I'll jump into that in this episode a little bit. I'll dive into that. Also, yes, I am very, very intrigued by something that I stumbled upon, which is not new news, by the way. However, in the current state of what's playing out in regards to Orange County. Anyways, I'm going to get into it. It's really interesting. And I think you guys agree that I think this person should be contacted for season 20. It's not who you think it is. I'm not speaking about Vicky because yes, I believe Vicky should come back. I don't know if it should be full time, but anyways, I don't want to spill too much right now. So we're going to dive into that piece of info. What else is going on? We have to discuss the Mary Cosby situation with her son. That news did come out on the 11th, but I think the arrest was actually on September 6th. So I will jump into that because I have a theory that now, there's a bunch of things going on here, but predominantly around this wife of his, and I say that in quotes. There's some weird stuff there. I don't know what it is, but I did do some digging, so I'll tell you guys what I came up with. And then, I guess we can just dive right in. I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit because we have some Salt Lake news ahead of tomorrow's premiere, which is I'm so excited, you guys. It's finally here. We have a whole new season, something else to watch during the week. But so let's just dive right on in. Okay. So first of all, before we jump in, sorry, I have to plug myself because today is the day. If you guys made your pre-orders for the Housewives in the Stars tarot deck that I designed, trying to get this in focus so you guys can see. Sorry, listeners, if you're listening to the audio, you can't see this, but you can go to georgiotakakis.com/shop and purchase your tarot deck. I just shipped out the pre-orders that came prior when I announced them because I offered free shipping. So starting today, unfortunately, shipping is no longer included, but you should still get them because I believe I did figure out a way where I can ship to the UK and to Europe. So that's good news because a lot of you guys had been asking, and initially I said I don't think so. I figured it out. So at any rate, get your cards. These are super fun. Okay, I designed all the cards myself. At any rate, that's my little plug. You can also shop my new merch collection ahead of Salt Lake City premiere tomorrow. If you're ordering it today, unfortunately, you won't get it by tomorrow, but you'll get it nonetheless. We have the Baby Gorgeous collection. I'm also wearing a shirt today. It's the what's good for the whole ain't good for the soul. Yes. So yeah, go to georgiotakakis.com/shop. Get yourself something nice. Okay. There's a lot of cute stuff in the merch store. And thanks again to everyone who made pre-orders. Your orders should be arriving very shortly. Okay. Now that we got the business taken care of and out of the way, we can start talking through some of the stuff today.
This episode of the Georgio Says podcast is brought to you by Golly Nutrition, the inventive, people-focused nutrition company making your daily supplements simple and delicious. Every Golly product is crafted with high-quality ingredients you can pronounce and flavors your taste buds will love. At the heart of Golly is purpose. Through the Golly for Good initiative, they support our planet and our communities, partnering with Vitamin Angels and Eden Reforestation Projects. Visit golly.com today and use the code The Georgio Says at checkout for a special discount just for our listeners. That's Golly Nutrition. Simple, delicious, and good for the world. Now back to the episode.
Let's start with OC, okay? Because it's been like on my mind. So this morning I'm waking up and I'm like stumbling across some stuff and I'm just doing some like research around like different people, Orange County, nothing in particular. I had no method to the madness, if you will. However, I did stumble upon some older articles. And when I say older, we're talking like 2019 older. So like 5 years, 6 years, actually, where there was this kind of story that had come out where Heather Dubrow had spoken out against her ex-assistant, Natalie Puchet, who had been her assistant for, I would say, I think it was about 8 years at the time. So about almost a decade. Okay. And if you ever watched any of Heather's podcasts, you may have seen her on a couple of the episodes. She's also helped do a number of other things, as you know, assistants tend to have to do. Nonetheless, she's been in a couple of other videos and I believe has helped with filming stuff for like Heather Dubrow's, I think when she had that YouTube show in the closet, or Heather Dubrow's closet, whatever I'm sure it was called Heather Dubrow's closet because she likes to use her name. Anyways, nonetheless, there was an article that had come out. Heather Dubrow was speaking out against the ex-assistant, saying that she was lying about her, the way that she departed. So I immediately am like, wait a second, I don't remember hearing about this. And there wasn't like a ton of like media around this situation, to be fair. There was like one or two articles, and then the rest were just like copy and paste type of articles that were just regurgitating the same thing. So, but anyways, so come to find out, I guess this assistant, Natalie, okay, she got pregnant, during her tenure while working with Heather, went on maternity leave, okay? And then come to find out from a post that she made on Instagram, I guess this was, now what's not clear is whether or not this exchange or this decision was made while she was still on maternity leave or when maternity leave had come to a close. That part has not been clear. But Natalie, now to be clear, everything I'm talking about in this episode is alleged and is information that I sourced from Natalie's Patreon, her words, okay? And then the rest was media, meaning the article and things like that. So just putting that out there before we get any Heather Dubrow fans in my email saying that I'm trying to spread rumors. This was already put out there. This is already stuff that's out there and is still out there that you can find. So anyways, Natalie made a post and it was on Instagram and it said, "This is a tough one. For those who have followed my journey on the HDW podcast, Heather Dubrow's podcast, Heather's assistant for the past 4 out of 8 years. Oh, I guess she means for 4 years she was an assistant and then maybe was doing other stuff the other 4. She wrote, "My journey is sadly coming to an end. I'm sorry I won't be able to say my proper goodbyes, in parentheses, as this was not my choice. But I hope to be able to still connect with you on my journey into motherhood and unforeseen career adjustment and all of the beautiful, hideous, and honest moments in between. I have so much love for you guys and have truly appreciated having you all on this crazy journey of mine. So with that, I won't say goodbye, just see you soon." Okay. And then I believe it was Reality Blurb put out a screenshot that was allegedly between Natalie Puchet and I guess a user on Instagram who was responding to Natalie's Instagram stories. And the person wrote to Natalie saying, "Oh my God, you left Heather. I knew you would." And then Natalie responded, "Yeah, sad face," something like that. "She actually isn't having me come back to work, but it's okay, onward and upward." And then the person wrote back, "Oh my God, really? She loved you? She said she was counting the weeks." And then Natalie responded, "Welcome to my world, smiley face." And then the user wrote, "She's difficult." Natalie's response allegedly to this was an emoji with the zipper on the mouth, meaning I'm not going to go there. And further to that, she posted an Instagram story that said, "Sorry, this is just really hard. Obviously, I'm not able to talk in detail about why these days have been so difficult, but just know I appreciate the beautiful messages, love, and support. You made me realize I had a voice this whole time and I never even knew it." And then at the bottom in small text, she also wrote, "I ask that you please be kind to others in your comments." So this whole situation, although is not the biggest headline news, okay, it does come off very interesting because when I went on to Natalie's Patreon, okay, someone, I believe it was on Reddit, I saw someone had mentioned that she had done an episode discussing this somewhat, okay? Because again, what I did find out as well, that there was an NDA. So my guess, and again, this is my speculation, I believe once that first Instagram post went up where she said, "Not my choice to leave Heather," Heather got pissed, okay? Keep in mind, you guys, this is the same Heather that's still egging on about not calling the paparazzi, okay? She hangs on to things, and I told you, I've said it before, she doesn't know how to poke fun at herself. She's very sensitive. So I could totally see Heather seeing Natalie's Instagram post, right? And then reading that in the parentheses being like, "Not my choice." All the while everyone knows that Natalie was, on maternity leave, was like having a baby. So of course, everybody had things to say about it. The optics surely didn't look good, specifically from that caption. So Heather fired back and explained, and she had a whole explanation via this like article where it basically was like calling Natalie a liar and said that was not true, and that basically she had offered Natalie a full-time role when she was off of maternity leave that was inclusive of a salary and benefits. I believe she did pay for Natalie's maternity leave, but I believe that must have been part of her original benefits package, if I'm not mistaken. Nonetheless, she did offer her a full-time role. So here's the thing. Now we get to that kind of, I guess, gets squashed. Now on Patreon, Natalie's made a couple references to having to stop a podcast that she was already doing. I believe it was on iHeart, if I'm not mistaken. That was a public one. And I guess shortly after all of this kind of ran its course online and in the media, she had made a post where she was announcing that she was no longer going to be doing that podcast. And then the podcast is called Humble and Hungry. Now, you can still catch her. I don't want to say it's the same because I feel like she's, based on what I've heard, she's kind of evolved it a bit. So I don't know if it's exactly the same podcast, but her podcast is available on Patreon. So this is where I've gotten this information. So it's from her words. Now, she made reference when she was closing out the fact that she was no longer going to be doing this public podcast anymore and she was stepping away, and she didn't use names either because she's very, like, again, NDAs. And I believe Heather called her and probably let her know or reminded her of the NDAs and then did the whole "I've got a lot of money, I will do what I got to do" kind of thing. I'm I'm just speculating, obviously, allegedly. But that's what I feel, because I don't think the version of Heather that we get on the show is the authentic Heather. Okay. If you guys remember, I don't remember what season it was, where her mom and they were all at dinner. And it was like, in this moment, you realized this speaks to a lot of why Heather is the way she is. So having the paparazzi photographer on Rodeo Drive just so happened to, be at that spot when she's walking down the street. That's all very calculated. And so this to me is also one of those things that, yes, was probably a very calculated move, because Heather's about appearances. So I wouldn't put it past her to make a thing about it and get this girl all riled up to the point where she's like, I don't even want to I don't even want to do this podcast anymore. Right. So then we get to March of 2023. March of 2023. She does a bonus audio on her Patreon, and it's in regards to Orange County casting reaching out to her because they were interested in possibly talking to her about being on the show. Okay. Now, this is all, again, alleged. This is her words, not mine. So Orange County casting, okay, reached out to Natalie, knowing, because let's be crystal clear here. They knew exactly what they were doing, or they were trying to do, rather, because I'll get to that part later, because she even said the same thing in this bonus audio. But I was like, wow. But anyhow, so they basically were like, look, we like what you got going on. You seem to have some connections already with some of the ladies. Blah, blah, blah. Then they say, let's go ahead and do like a interview kind of video on Zoom. And then she said she started to laugh because she realized how ridiculous this all is when you really think about it. So she was like, as long as this person is on the show, and now she did not, I will say this, she never said Heather Dubrow's name in any mention around this situation. And that was for good reason. There was one where it was clearly cut out. Like, she said the name, but it was bleeped out, silenced out rather, because clearly she doesn't want any smoke. So the things that I am speaking on are because, like, logically speaking, that's who she's speaking about. But I want to make it clear she didn't use Heather's name. Okay. Nonetheless, casting directors were like, look, we still got to talk to the higher ups about it. But, their mind was already in the space of bringing someone on that, could possibly shake things up for Heather, in the sense of, like, there might be someone that's like causing some conflict in terms of whose version of the story is true. So, when you look at it from the lens of, okay, if casting was interested in bringing her on 2 years ago or talking to her, then I would think, because here's the thing, guys, with everything that's playing out, Heather, a lot of you guys think that Heather is afraid of Tamara. I don't believe that she's afraid of Tamara. I think a couple things. I think one could be Tamara knows a lot of things, perhaps about Heather, and Heather's no dummy and knows that. So she plays her cards accordingly. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, this isn't like when Yolanda was like telling Kyle, like, I hold a lot in the vault. No, it's not that type of thing. And I know a lot of you guys think that Tamara likes to do that. She likes to store up all these things about people so that she can use them if need be. But listen, I think everyone kind of does that in some way, shape, or form. Anyways, I don't want to go down that road, because then I'll deflect away from what we're discussing, which is Heather. And I do believe Heather is a controlled image person. Like, she has this archaic view on media training and how to speak to the media, how to, like, you could just tell, right? But when you watch the show and you know enough about what people have said in terms of their experiences working with her, being around her, whatever the case is, it's never great. And that's not to say that those things are true. But what I am saying is not all of those things can be untrue, right? All of those people can't be like seeing it wrong. And I think obviously she's learned a lot. I think this Katie situation has made her also see like optics are everything. And like, I think that was partially, in my opinion, the reason why she wasn't the one kind of taking the charge on this. Because I think she is smart enough to realize what the optics of that whole thing would look like. Right. So that's why we do see her, in my opinion, just sitting back and kind of being like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And so you're just like, okay, right. But you're the one that kind of started this, you know, in a lot of ways she did, because you gave over information to Emily. And now you're saying you're just sharing articles because that's what you girls do. Yes, that's true. But you gave it directly to her, I believe, because I think you knew that that was your signal to her to go for that. Go ahead and bring that up, right? Because all of these articles that she mentions, or all of these things that are happening that are in the media, like there wasn't really anything. So it's like, when people say research, I don't think she was sitting at a library computer digging up all these old like art. No, it's like you went and found something that had some sort of like truth to it, and you use it as a way to get someone else to go after her because you don't want to be the person caught in the mud, right? It's giving very LVP. But also the funny part is Heather doesn't even live in Orange County because she filmed with two of her castmates who had to travel to Beverly Hills. It's like, what a joke, right? But anyway, they obviously didn't end up going with Natalie, probably because Heather was like, absolutely the fuck not, you know? But I have heard that she does have influence, Heather, over production or certain things, right? It's not lost on me. It's not to say that she has all this power, but I do believe she has influence, because I do believe when you do have that kind of real money, you absolutely can come to the table and have some demands met, is all I'm going to say. And I'm not saying that that's what she's doing, and I'm not saying that she screwed Natalie over, because again, Natalie has her truth, Heather has her truth, but there's just the actual truth in the middle. But going off of what I've seen, heard, and learned, I kind of feel like why would Natalie make that up? You know what I mean? Because if that was the case, then like you had her for 8 years. All of a sudden now she became she became a liar all of a sudden. Like she became a liar during maternity leave. Like that doesn't make sense. So I thought that was interesting, but I do think, and I should text James and see what his thoughts are. I think they should reapproach Natalie. I do, because I think Heather's been sitting easy on the show, quite frankly. And it's kind of a little too easy. And I feel like she needs somebody to kind of spice it up. And maybe Natalie could be a good person. Plus, maybe Natalie could not be a full-time housewife. Maybe she could be a friend of. I think her and Tamra follow each other. And I believe from what I also heard, this was another like interesting point. She said, or alleges, I'll say allegedly, that her, Natalie's, and Tamra's kind of dialogue is mainly over DM, but it also, she said, really kind of shifted based on the politics and the relationship between Heather and Tamra. So I guess what she was saying was, if Tamra and Heather were in a good space, then yes, Tamra and I would dialogue. But I guess if they weren't in a good space, then, you know, she probably wouldn't really be talking. And I think that's even still the case. Like, I think that it's probably touch and go, right? Because if she's dialoguing with this ex-assistant and she's in a good spot with Heather, then Heather's obviously going to get mad at Tamra and be like, oh my God, why would you talk to her? She lied about me publicly. But then on the other side of it, it's like, you know, maybe she was a good assistant and maybe something got soured up. I don't know. You know, we really don't know. But that's why I'm saying maybe casting needs to have Natalie back on the list for season 20. Have a friend of. I mean, listen, we're giving out, like, I no hate to Kiki, but we're giving out full lunch scenes for bloggers, so we're all up for grabs. So, like, let's have some scenes with someone who's worked and knows Heather, and let's get production in the network to possibly do something with that NDA so that Natalie can actually talk. That's my vote as a viewer. And yes to Vicky too. It's the big 20. Like, that's a big deal. She absolutely should be back on. Do I think she should be full time? No, because I don't think she's the same person. I think she's evolved in her own way as well. So I think friend of, yes. Full time, no. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to share about that on the Heather Dubrow situation. It's not really a situation, really, but it was for a second. And a couple of years ago, there was a possibility that her ex-assistant could have made her way onto our TV screens. So that would have been really good. But I don't know. Let me know what you think down below. Do you want Natalie on the show? I think friend of role would be appropriate. I'm not saying give her an orange. It's not that serious. But I'm nosy. I want to know more. I want to know what happened. Was it the same role that Heather offered her? Was it a like different type of role? You know? Interesting stuff.
This episode of the Georgio Says podcast is brought to you by Pop Pop and Ya-Ya's Smoky Pet Treats, where every bag has a story, and every bite is made with love. Each Pop Pop and Ya-Ya's Smoky Pet Treat is 100% natural, gently smoked to perfection, and made with just one ingredient, either chicken or beef. Your pets won't say no. No preservatives, no additives, just pure, savory flavor your dogs will love. Perfect for snacking, training, or even crumbling over their meals for an extra tail-wagging treat. Visit ppyytreats.com today to shop their smoky chicken breast strips and smoky beef strips and tell them Georgio sent you. Now let's get back to the episode.
Also, let's jump over to, let's discuss Mary Cosby's son. Okay, so if you guys been living under a rock, Robert Jr., Mary Cosby's son, okay, he was arrested on September 6th for, I believe it was, let's get the correct information. Let's see. I had to go through. Where did I put it? Okay, so here's what happened. September 6th, Salt Lake City, Utah, police responded to a domestic violence call. Robert Jr. is accused of trying to break into his father-in-law's house via a dog door. He allegedly assaulted someone on the front lawn. When officers arrived and ordered him to get on the ground, he initially refused and then complied. So these are the charges that Robert Jr. is currently facing over that situation. So he's got criminal trespassing for the entry attempt into the father-in-law's house. Then we have assault for allegedly assaulting someone on the lawn, failure to obey law enforcement commands, for not getting on the ground immediately when they told him to, and then the multiple violations of court orders, which were 3 counts. His bond and bail was set to, there's some sources saying 10,000, some are saying 5. So anywhere between 5 and 10,000. Now, we already know that this is something that's been a journey. Mary discussed this last season. I'm sure we're going to probably continue to discuss this journey this new season. However, I do think that, you know, Mary Cosby seemingly has kind of addressed this without directly addressing it, where she just basically said, like, you know, he's doing the best that he can, right? And she's being very logical, but very supportive at the same time, which I think, to me, I think is the best way to be. And I know that that's not an easy way to be for a lot of people that have loved ones in situations like Robert Jr.'s. But, you know, she did some press over the last couple weeks. But what she said was, he's got to make the decision, right? He's got to make the choice. And until he does that, it's going to be a battle for him. And I think, unfortunately, he's still young too, right? He's 19. He's old enough to know better, but 19 is still like, we're still figuring stuff out, right? But I also feel like, and this is not putting blame, because again, he makes his own decisions. He's responsible for his own actions. But aside from all of that, I don't think that this woman that he is attached to, or as I will say, a little girl, because she is a little, I mean, they're young. They're still babies. I don't think that she's good, a good environment or a safe space for him, honestly. I don't think, she also went to rehab. So she clearly is also dealing with substance issues. And I'm not sure whether she was forced into it or she went on her own. Whatever the case is, two people dealing with addiction issues and struggling with their journeys on these things, 9 times out of 10, it's never a good idea to be in a relationship, because you're not really focusing on the relationship. It becomes more of a codependency, in my opinion. So I believe that Mary's never been in favor of this young lady. That, what's not clear either is whether or not he actually is legally married, but it seems like he is, because they're referring to this person as the father-in-law, which would mean that he is married. But there's, we had Mary say previously that he wasn't, but who knows? All I know is, wait, can we just go back for a second? A dog door? Are we still doing dog doors in 2025? Also, how big is the dog door? Or I guess, how big is the dog? Because how could you possibly get through a dog door? Was he trying to see if he could reach possibly like the doorknob? Because surely he didn't. I also don't think that he was maybe using. I don't know why I think that. I feel like he wasn't. I think there was something else going on, clearly, that he needed to get access to that house. But I think there's just like a lot of mental health stuff happening as well. And someone who's trying to stay sober and trying to stay away from things like that. That's why I'm like, this situation doesn't seem right to me. And she's only been on the screen a couple of times, but every time she has been on, she's got this weird energy about her that I don't know, you guys. So anyways, I did some digging, because like I didn't do a full thorough, like Georgio says, investigation. I haven't gone that deep yet. But what I will say, which is interesting, there's nothing really out there on her or the family that I was able to preliminarily whatever find. So I found that to be odd, but maybe it's not odd, right? Like maybe just hasn't done a lot and there's not anything really to like see. Nonetheless, I was just looking because I was trying to see like, what's her deal? Like, what type of family does she come from? Like, what could it possibly be? What's going on in Salt Lake City, Because honestly, I do believe that this girl is part of the problem. And I think Mary knows that too. And I think she's praying that he will realize that on his own accord, because she knows he can do it. And that's something that she said. And I think that that's really strong and brave of her. Now, I don't know how she feels behind closed doors when everyone's not in her face with a camera and a microphone. She might be a lot harsher. And you know what? She has the right to be. That's a really tough spot to be in. That's a tough situation to have to navigate while you're also sharing your life. So, I support Mary. We want the best for her. We want the best for Robert. We want him to turn it around. I'm going to say, Robert, get rid of the girl. Get rid of her. I don't think she's helping you move through this. If anything, it's almost triggering you to make bad decisions. So yeah, sad. Anyhow, what else is going on is I am going to be giving you guys a roundup episode on Plathville soon, because I wanted to wait until the wedding episode to give my full take. But just so you guys know, I am coming with my thoughts on this. No, I have not been doing episode recaps don't freak out. I have not been recapping the show, but I have been watching. Okay. And I have a lot of thoughts. There's stuff going on online, stuff happening on the show. So waiting for the wedding. I believe it's this week is the wedding episode where Lydia's getting married. And what's his name? Isaac. Is it Isaac? That busts Micah's nose? Yeah. Where it like pretty much gets ripped off, it looks like. Anyhow, lots of thoughts on that, but I want to watch the wedding episode first, and then I will give you those thoughts. Salt Lake City, tomorrow, premiere, season 6. Yeah, season 6. Wow, I can't believe it. Our girls are growing up. I am so excited for this season. I know it's going to be jam-packed with so much great stuff, like storyline, content, laughter, drama. It truly is the show to watch, honestly, truly. So very exciting for that. However, a lot of you guys are hearing some rumors, and I've heard them too, but it's not really a rumor, right? Is that we may not see Lisa Barlow on the first episode. Now, we have to go back to when they were picking up cameras again to start filming season 6. Remember, there was rumors that Lisa may not have been asked to come back, or that she quit, or that she wasn't returning, right? We came to see that later, a couple weeks into filming, I believe, we did see Lisa because someone got a shot of her where she was clearly filming a scene. I don't know if it was with Meredith or if she was talking to, I think she was actually filming a scene with John Barlow on the rooftop of some place, or like some balcony of some place. So we realized, okay, she's back in filming. So I believe one of two things. We may not see her in episode 1 because there may be some chatter as to what her absence is for. Like, what is she stepping back from? Or we will get a scene of her in episode 1 that'll be clipped from when she had picked up filming. That's where I'm going to those are the two options. And I'm fine, honestly, with that. If she isn't appearing in the first episode because she didn't pick up cameras to start filming officially until 2 weeks into it, then that's fair, because we still got to follow a timeline. And when we have seasons of new housewives joining these franchises, we don't even see those housewives sometimes until episode 4 or 5. Okay, so I mean, it's not the end of the world. Listen, no one loves a baby gorgeous moment more than I do, but listen, we know that there's a jam-packed full season of stuff. A lot of shit's going on. So if you forgot, this is your reminder. Tomorrow night, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, season 6 premiere. Yes, we will be recapping it. That is a dumb question. Of course we will. I think that's all I got for you guys today. So quick little reminders. Please, 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 if you haven't, go check out my merch, georgiotakanakis.com/shop. My new tarot deck, Housewives in the Stars, is available. Pre-orders have been shipped. Today is the official day they are available. So if you buy it today, it ships out today. So check that out. Also, I will be addressing some of the questions with James that you guys have been sending me around the clip that I posted, the one producer's advice to Katie. Now, I will say that was a clip. So I hope for all of you that haven't listened or watched the entire episode, please go back and do that, because not that this was taken out of context by any means. It wasn't. That was his advice. I agreed with some of it. I'm not saying she doesn't speak up for herself, that she's got to do something wild and, crazy. But I do think you can still be firm and still not like be jumping around acting like something that you're not. So I think that's where I was coming from. I can't speak for James, but James made his point. The other point I want to make is, listen, I struggled with how this would go, bringing James on, I'll be honest, because he's also a producer. So there's only so much he's going to say, and that's fair. Also, for all of you that think that I'm trying to like drum up something here, I've known James for over 20 years. He's not anybody new to me. So that's not that. So we can put that to the side. We've been friends for a very long time. So there's no drumming up anything. This was his advice. He worked with Katie. I did not. He also said in the episode, which is why I think people need to go back and listen. He also said, because I asked him, when this was all playing out, did you foresee the optics playing out the way that they are now? Meaning how the gang up doesn't work, and what everyone's going to be saying about how it's a bunch of white women putting a woman of color on an island by herself. And he said, yes. He said, yes. So it's not like, but also I do want to say they're not there to babysit either, guys. They're not there to like be like, no, you can't say that. No, you can't do that. What I think happened with the last cast trip, I think had a lot more to do with the fact that nobody was going to film with her. So for her to go, yes, she could have gone, and perhaps she could have shown up somewhere and just shown up anyway. For whatever reason, there was a call of action where it was like, no, it's actually a really horrible, because here's what I think. I think the producers knew what it was going to look like. James did. So I can't imagine none of the rest of them didn't have that notion of, oh shit, this is going to look really wild when it plays out. Because again, they don't know how it's going to get edited down either. James isn't the editor. He's just there, like, you know what I mean? So what I'm saying though is that in this situation, it probably was best in their minds to not have Katie go, because if they already see that it's not looking great, you know, why put her through more of that cycle to get more content that's just ultimately going to make the whole thing look even more the way it does? I mean, let's be honest. So, but I'm populating all of your comments and your questions in regards to the episode. And, you know, I did say during that episode as well, James and I are not going to be recapping it every week. We're going to wait for a couple episodes to go by, see how things are playing out in the storylines. And then we'll touch base. So we're not even really recapping really, but we're discussing what's happening. So I'm compiling all those comments and questions and things that you guys have been sending me to give to him so that we can kind of see, like, you know, when we can come together and have a conversation about it. So I think that's all I wanted to say. It's Monday. I'm going to keep it light and easy as we can, right? Anyways, I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday, and until the next episode, guys, I will talk to you on the next one. Bye.
We need to talk about this. Talk about this.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to leave a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast.
We need to talk about this.